Alrighty, so it's Friday, and dude, it's a casual day. I'm just gonna be shooting from the hip on this one. So this one's gonna be good old John Griffin. I love this guy, and he's gonna be talking about the war on men and why many modern men they go their own way. And I am not MGTOW, but I do like solitude, and I'm totally fine being single. So let's roll.
For the last 50 years, there has been a very decided, clear war on masculinity and, by default, on men in general. Ironically, these women who started this war have gotten exactly what they wanted, but now they feel lost. So these women have driven men into hiding, basically. They've made them invisible. These guys have basically decided that since obviously their energy was not welcome, they have found other ways to focus their lives, other places to go, other things to do. Now we've got a whole generation of women wandering around, wondering where all the men are. The irony is hilarious. So today, I want to talk to you guys about this war on men and what we can do about it, because
So yeah, we're at home. we're not going out and doing things. At least the guys that are older, right? I'm 40, so I had all my fun in my late teens and all my 20s, and I became a dad at 29. And as you get older, just in general, you don't really want to be a part of the same scene as you were when you were younger. I don't enjoy going to bars and clubs. I haven't gone to a club and shoot, it's been a long time. I think I went to a club 2016. I think that was the last time, in Ann Arbor. I think it was called Live, and I went with some friends. It was the busiest night of the year. I think it's the night before or after Thanksgiving, whichever, I can't remember. But yeah, I think the only guys that are really out there participating in that are the younger guys. But even when I was younger, things were a lot different than they are now. Now you're seeing a lot of Gen Zers, a lot of them Zoomer dudes. They are embracing monk life or solitude or MGTOW, whatever, because social media and dating apps and smartphones have really changed women's behavior a lot, or I guess not changed, but it's amplified their true nature. And men are just growing wiser and have been burned. Guys have been completely destroyed. Really good men. That's the thing. I myself, when I was younger, yeah, of course I was programmed. I was very blue-pilled, right? I guess that's the best term for it. Unfortunately, I fell for the Hollywood programming and simped for chicks that I really liked. Made a lot of those mistakes, and I had to learn the hard way. So it's either men learn the hard way or they learn from men like me who learn the hard way. And now there's a lot of content out there, like this guy right here, good old John Griffin, and myself and many others, Dapper Dev, Headspace with Spiro, all these great dudes, Jack Morgan, just making men aware of the pitfalls. And thankfully, a lot of men, they're not falling into them like we did. Us millennials, we really sacrificed ourselves to help the younger generations out. So at least that's kind of my off the dome, shooting from the hip response to that. But I myself, sure, it would be nice to find someone and have that connection and the sex all that stuff. Yeah, it's great and all, I guess, but I'm content where I'm at. I'm content. I mean, I have a kid. It's not the most ideal circumstance, but I have a son. I have someone that's going to carry on the family name. It's going to carry on my DNA. And I really enjoy being a dad. I'd rather hang out with my kid than hang out with adults, especially modern women. Forget about it. I'd rather hang out with my son. I'd rather play Fortnite with him. I'd rather be at home. And if I'm not hanging out with my son, I'd rather be hanging out with myself. And I've got friends that I can text and talk to, FaceTime with, play Fortnite with, play other games with online. So, and then I do this. I'm able to talk to my community here. There's a lot of awesome people in my community. I can live stream and talk to a lot of you guys. A lot of the same faces show up on the live streams, which I plan doing more of. I won't be doing it tonight. I'll actually be doing it probably Saturday and Sunday. But that's the thing is there are a lot more options now for men to be at home doing their own thing and not get bored, right? Because I know not everyone likes to read books. A lot of people they want to be doing something with a screen, and yeah, it's fine every now and then. It can definitely go overboard. It usually does go overboard, even with me. But there's so many options other than women out there now that men are taking advantage of, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it because it's a minefield out there. But yeah, let's continue with what John's talking about here. I think I need to do some walk and talks like he does, just walking through the woods, because there's some areas like that really pretty here where I can bring my camera. So I need to get off my lazy ass and do that.
We may not have caused this problem, but I think that we are the solution. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it.
I need to get me some dogs too.
The uncomfortable truth that women don't want to admit to is there has been a campaign to demonize everything about masculinity and call it something toxic, something unwelcome. You can take positive characteristics like confidence and they'll relabel it as arrogance. You take something like leadership and they relabel it as controlling.
Oh yeah, I've talked about that so many times. They always invert masculinity to mean something that it's not, to mean something oppressive and controlling. Men are sick of hearing that, honestly. That is something that's a huge reason why men, they just don't want to deal with it, because they are so sick and tired of their nature being subverted like that, being inverted and skewed and misrepresented. Sick of it.
You can see how this emerges into a pattern of just about any kind of healthy form of masculinity. They can turn and twist into something negative. I was reading this interesting article recently. It appeared in Vogue magazine, and this young urban liberal woman wrote this article.
Of course they did. Young urban liberal woman. They're always all those freaking bloggers.
About how it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend and how it's cringe to be with a man. She went on to talk about how even heterosexual relationships are a offshoot of the patriarchy.
Dude, I have a picture of her in my head right now, and she definitely has a septum, and her hair is definitely not a natural hue. Thick glasses, tattoos, yeah.
That it's a form of male control. You can see how twisted and sick some of these people have gotten. They have created a form of neuroses, psychoses. I don't know what kind of mental health problem they have, but they have.
All of them have BPD, and they're all on Lexapro and Prozac. They're all taking SSRIs and just. And then on top of that, birth control. Their hormones they just have all of this synthetic garbage just flowing through their veins all day, every day.
They have certainly evolved into a antisocial behavior. And they can't even see it. because they get so much consensus and agreement from those people around them. Meanwhile, a whole generation of
Yeah, they do. That's the thing, is women's insane behavior, it gets validated and encouraged. There's no suppression to their synthetic addled nature with those antidepressants, man. They really, dude, those antipsychotics got them all twisted.
men have become invisible. They've turned into the non-playable characters in the video game of life.
Yeah, I think a lot of women are NPCs, honestly, just because they're so easily propagandized, and they're the ones that are watching the garbage television. That's the thing, is you can really tell a lot about a woman by what she watches and what she listens to. It's a definite no if she listens to Taylor Swift or just pop music. Just the current pop music is total garbage. And if she is neck deep in the mainstream narratives, just the brain rot that's on Netflix, if that's what she talks about, if that's what she does after she gets off work, then, and that's the thing, that's a lot of women. Not all women, but that's most of them. And even the ones that you wouldn't think, they too watch Love Island and all of that garbage television. So it's so many of them, even women that you think are nice and sweet, but then you find out she listens to Taylor Swift. They all love Taylor Swift, and she's a feminist icon. So yeah, that's a no-go zone, man.
You don't need to be a non-playable character to feel isolated or just lost in your own life. Having someone to talk to can make all the difference in the world. And that's where BetterHelp, today's sponsor, comes in. BetterHelp is on a mission to make getting therapy easy, convenient, and cost-effective. By just going online and filling, you can just ask for you guys help.com/John Griffin voice for try.
There we go. Boom. All right, you got sponsored by BetterHelp. Good job, buddy. Good job, John. Oh, if anybody's interested, if anybody likes audiobooks or books, I just bought the audiobook. It's by Rachel Wilson, so it's Andrew Wilson's wife. It's really good so far. It's called Occult Feminism, The Secret History of Women's Liberation. And if you are interested in learning the true origins of feminism and just where it actually comes from, it's wild. Things I didn't even know about it. It'll really connect the dots for you. And if it's something that you want to be able to debate, then it's super good. I'm not sponsored by the Wilsons at all, but I have started reading her book, and it is really good so far. I'm only a couple chapters in, and I think that her and Andrew are they're actually coming out with a course to learn how to debate against feminists. So that's cool. I might get that, but just figured I'd let you guys know.
As we talked about in past videos, one of the interesting characteristics about women is they seek consensus and validation. And so as this war on men has transpired, like in any ideological movement, it's always the loudest voices that get heard, not the most rational. And with radical anti-masculine feminism, which we'll just call, radical feminism,
Or just call it feminism, because all feminism is radical.
They scream the loudest. They scream the loudest. And women need to feel accepted. They need that sense of consensus. And so when you start
women are very consensus-based.
Moving men from the equation, they turn to each other more and more to get that consensus, for that external validation. And when you throw in...
One thing I've noticed is that if you have a relationship with a woman, she tells her friends absolutely everything, even private things that are very inappropriate for her to share. Because a lot of women, they just don't have boundaries. All they do is they just share every private thing with their girlfriends, right? Guys don't do that. I mean, sometimes, just depends on what it is, but that's not something that I really do. if I'm in a relationship with a woman, those private details, those intimate details, those conversations that we have made in confidence, those stay in confidence, those stay private. But there's some women out there that they do not keep those things private. So if you value your privacy, then you gotta vet these chicks really good.
In something like social media, that external validation becomes even more immediate. It becomes even more powerful. And so this sense of consensus that these women are developing about the negative qualities.
And their friends will sabotage your relationship, by the way. Because a lot of them, they really value the opinion of their friend even more so than you. Even if you've been with them for a long time, their friend will steamroll your relationship. And maybe that's a good thing, because if you're with a woman like that, then you shouldn't be with her. But it's something to think about, because women, they chatter a lot. That's their shtick. They love gossip. They love telling their besties the good, the bad, and the ugly. They do not hold back.
Associated with masculinity, and then reaffirming those things over and over and over again in their heads, has created an environment where, quite frankly, most men have opted out. It's like they just don't see the benefit
There's no ROI
in having a relationship with a woman. These women have convinced themselves that traditional relationships between men and women and traditional families with children are all a offshoot of the patriarchy. Like, these are all patriarchal constructs, and they are designed to control women and to hold them in place and to be oppressive in some way, shape, or form. So these women have now turned to each other and to their careers.
Right, the sisterhood. That's the thing about the sisterhood. It forms, and it's a big sisterhood. When you're in a group of women, it doesn't matter what their ideology is. They could be conservative, they could be liberal, but that sisterhood still forms no matter what. It breaks through those ideological barriers, and the feminism it shows in both of them, because a lot of these women, even the ones that don't claim to be feminist, are still feminist, and they're thinking, and the words that they use, and their thought process, and how they view men, and how they view the dynamics between men and women, the gender roles,
as a way to fill their lives with something meaningful. They've created this echo chamber that supports one another in this concept that by eliminating men from their lives and becoming more and more radicalized in their thinking, that they are in some way going to feel fulfilled on some level. But as we've observed, that is not necessarily true.
Yeah, you gotta get that drone B-roll footage. He's notorious for that. It's good stuff.
This echo chamber of radical feminism has created what I call the invisible man phenomenon, where the vast majority of men, 50, 60, 70% of men, are out there doing their jobs. They're paying taxes. They're living their lives. They're finding other ways to get fulfillment. For feminine relationships, they're looking.
That's the thing about men. Even though we want connection, we want women, we want sex, we're very adaptable. So we can go without. And yeah, it can be a struggle certain days, but men have grit. A lot of us do. We put up with a lot, and we go without for long periods of time.
Looking for something shallow. Oftentimes it's a contractual relationship, where there's some money exchanged. They can travel all over the world. A lot of these guys make plenty of money, so going to, developing countries where they can meet women from other cultures who have more traditional values. I mean, certainly that's a big thing that guys are doing these days. But what's happening is they're literally abandoning Western women altogether because they don't see the value in it. They don't see, they don't want to conform to this behavior anymore. They don't want to be feminized and to be criticized and to be marginalized.
Feminized, criticized, marginalized. Yeah, dude, that's pretty much the life for the average man in the United States, let alone the West these days.
In their own lives, because that's inevitably what happens. That's what happened to a whole generation of men, my generation in particular, who came up during this radicalization, where these women had these ideas about what it meant to be a woman and what they had to do to fulfill this description of what a woman is. And for many women who decided to have children and get married, it meant there was an essential requirement that they have a career and be self-supporting. And inevitably, when you're trying to balance so much, children, family, career, it is too much stress, and it pushes them to the breaking point. And that puts a lot of pressure on relationships, and that inevitably leads to a lot of divorces. So what these radicalized women have done is they have moved the entire ideological spectrum of women farther and farther to the left. And I am being specific about.
Yeah, and since women are big about consensus, and they talk and they listen and they gossip, they shift together and they convert each other. It's kind of like when Yuri Bezmenov said it's done, whenever he talks about ideological subversion, he says it's done by Americans to Americans, and more women are graduating college, university, and that's where the indoctrination, it goes really hard. That's where a lot of them are being radicalized, is of course in high school, but even more, and the culture itself, but even more so in academia. When they go to, dude, if I meet a chick that has a PhD, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. No thanks. Any woman, all these women, they go to college and then a lot of them go into the social sciences, the humanities, and they just get completely indoctrinated by these Marxist feminist professors, these radicals, these radical lefties. I don't like to buy into the left-right paradigm, but they do exist, and I don't think life is as simple as you're either right or left. I'm not right, I'm not left. I have very nuanced opinions and beliefs, just a lot of people do. However, there are a lot of these NPC people, they don't. There are a lot of very one-dimensional people, and that's the thing. A lot of women now women are incredibly boring, honestly. A lot of women now are very one-dimensional, and that's another reason why it's easy to just, usually the moment you hang out with women, you realize, oh, well, okay, I remember now. I'd rather just be alone at home or playing Call of Duty or Fortnite with my buddies, the guys that I do know, because it's really hard to have a conversation with a woman that's intelligent. I'm not saying that all women are stupid, but I'm just saying there are a lot of women that it's garbage in, garbage out, and they take in a lot of garbage through all forms of media, all these different mediums, and they read garbage books, they watch garbage TV, they listen to garbage music. So yeah, you're not going to have a very intellectual conversation with them. They're not going to have anything articulate or poignant to tell you. It's not going to be fun. They're just going to be waterboarding you with a bunch of nonsense. So yeah, why? I think that's why a lot of men are just interested in casual situationships, just what have you, either one night stands or just doing that situationship thing, because you don't actually want to have a relationship with that person. Of course, men have these carnal desires and these biological needs that they need fulfilled, and of course that's where the one night stands come into play. I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying that's a reality. And you're like, yeah, these men are saying, yeah, you're attractive and I would definitely have sex with you, but that's it. I don't actually want to have a conversation with you and get to know you as a person, because I already know what you're about, and I'm not about that. So that's a lot of men these days, because women are just not interesting.
Here to the left, and I'm not a political person, but men, although they say we've moved to the right, that's really not necessarily true. When you look at the political scientists, and they've done a lot of studies on this, men have always been a little bit right of center, and maybe we're a little bit further right of center than we have been in the past, in the most recent election cycle, but that always comes and goes. It's always waning. Very close to the center, maybe a little bit to the right. Women traditionally have been a little bit left of center, so there has always been a little bit of a political divide. But over the last 15 years or so, women have moved way off the political center and way out into the left, where they have become more and more dependent on government to provide them.
I love government, dude. That's the thing. I'm not a statist. I'm a voluntarist. And so any woman that votes or loves a politician, that's the thing, is we as our society just celebritizes all these politicians. They're all scumbags. I don't understand why people do that. and I avoid any women that are political at all. So, yeah, it's a red flag for me.
With the security that they used to get from men. Think about that for a minute. And so government has literally filled in the gaps where they have pushed men out of their lives. They have also embraced a victim mentality, because through victimization or through becoming a victim, they can force government, they can put a lever on government to have
Hometh talks about this. He's got some good videos talking about that. How women have leveraged the government to vote in all of these new politicians that are just completely idiotic, and having all these new leftist policies that, of course, favor women, marginalize men, and siphon more of our money out of our paychecks.
programs and financial support that will help women.
I mean, just look at the family court system. That's always my point of reference. It's gynocentric times 1,000
across the board. Meanwhile, these invisible men just go about paying their taxes, just keep doing their lives and staying out of the way. So when women go on dating apps or they go to bars or they're trying to meet somebody, they're finding that the pickings are pretty slim.
Dude, women's bios on their dating profiles, they're all the same. They like tacos, they like sushi, they like true crime. They like the same stuff. Most women are carbon copies of one another. They watch the same shows, listen to the same, like I said earlier, they watch and listen to the same garbage that is just this mainstream slop, with all this propaganda that they fall for. So that's why, I mean, there's this cultural war with they use the media to just sway people's opinions. They target women specifically and market all these leftist ideals to them. So they take it hook, line, and sinker. It's like a moth to the flame, man.
Because most Western men really don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. We've really gotten to the point where we don't want to try to convince them that they're off the reservation, because unfortunately they're getting all of their feedback from these other radical women. They've created this echo chamber that's sort of like the Fox News world.
Yeah, it's like circular echo chamber
For women, except it's just all extreme liberal rather than extreme conservative. And unfortunately, all echo chambers are unhealthy, and the feminist echo chamber is as unhealthy as anyone that there is. Here's where the feminist ideology breaks down. And there's no way they can overcome this, and they know it. And so they fight against it at every turn. Is that you can't reprogram millions of years of biological evolution to behave in a particular way with a couple of decades of social engineering. And that's what they've tried to do, is they've tried to convince women that who they are at their core, biologically, as physical beings on this planet, can be resisted. Like, they don't have to follow their natural instincts. Like, they can fight against these natural instincts. And I think you can do that for a little while.
Which is interesting, because they do encourage them to follow their natural carnal desires and those instincts, their sexual ones. Those are fine, but everything else is not fine. Being a mother, being a wife, letting your husband lead, being traditional, being modest, those are things that are not encouraged. The only thing that's encouraged biologically is sex, and lots of it. They want women to act like men. So it's women are masculine and men are feminine. So it's that inversion that's got everything just messed up.
Like, you might be able to pull it off for a little while, but eventually there's a price to pay for it. And a lot of these women are paying that price in very significant.
Aren't you just jealous of this dog right here? He doesn't know about it. He doesn't have to worry about this crap, dude. It's only us humans. He's just having a good time, man. Just chilling out in nature and he gets fed by this dude. Just, playing fetch, walking. Man's best friend, dude. I'd rather have 3 dogs than a girlfriend.
significant ways. So they go down the feminist path and they, start the career
Yeah, dude. Dude, his dogs are great.
and they get the education and they alienate themselves from men and they, say all the negative shit on YouTube or whatever, on TikTok. And then they get to their mid-30s and reality starts to set in. They may never get married. They may never have a family. The option to do those things is slowly slipping through their fingers. And so in some desperate act of hope, they will, freeze their last 3 eggs. And hopefully at some point in the future, they'll find some source of fertilization so that they can, be a surrogate for themselves and become a single mother through a test tube baby. And no, I don't think any woman grew up as a little girl dreaming about one day, being artificially inseminated and being a single mother. That does not sound.
There are way too many single moms, dude. It's insane. Don't ever date a single mom, guys out there. Don't ever do it. Hey, you young guys, don't ever date a single mom, let alone have a long-term relationship or get married. You are not making good decisions. If you are dating a single mom, don't do it. Stop. Leave. Just reset, bro. Get out of it.
Sound like a path forward that most girls would have wanted.
That's just... So, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Stefan Arnio. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2020. The guy he was a... Dude, just a gem. Look him up, Stefan, and then his last name is Arnio, so AARNIO. And he has a book called Hard Times Create Strong Men. And so he does talk about stepdads, and any stepdad, any guy that chooses to reallocate any of his resources to take care of another man's seed is by definition a cuckold. So that's how I view stepdads. They're cucks. They're raising another man's seed, and they are, and they're also, that's the thing, they're taking on all this authority, or they're taking on all this responsibility with none of the authority. I'm sure you might have heard that before. I've had friends who have dated single moms, and then they broke up because that's the thing, is they weren't allowed to discipline their children. Their children were disrespecting him, my friend, and he decided to discipline them appropriately, and she got pissed about that, and she said he was not allowed to do that. That's the thing, is he's disrespected in his own home by her daughter, and he's not allowed to set her straight. He's not allowed to discipline her and say anything at all. That's still her job. So those are the kind of situations that you will find yourself in. So do not find yourself in those situations. And if you happen to be in that situation, find a way out of it. That is the best advice you could ever get.
Another biological need that women have is they are wired to need masculine energy in their lives.
They really are. I'm going to end on this. Women need male leadership. They do. And that's a huge problem that we're seeing, is just women are rejecting that. And also men aren't stepping up in a certain way in their relationships. They're kind of just they're dead inside. And yeah, there is a responsibility on the part of the dude too. I mean, you've got to be able to have some self-respect and walk away from women like that. And you need to have self-respect. You need to be firm in what you believe, be a masculine guy. And yeah, I get it. It's hard to find a woman that will allow you to do that, because a lot of them, they get triggered with their feminist programming, and then they just call you controlling and all that stuff. I mean, that's why men are not dating, and they're especially not getting married. There are just so many reasons why men aren't getting married, myself included. It's just not worth it. But that's the thing. Like I said, I would rather have 3 dogs than a girlfriend, honestly. That would be a lot better. I'd have a lot more fun hanging out with 3 dogs than 1 woman. All right? And I understand that there are women out there that I get it, that there's nuance. There are women out there that don't have feminist propaganda or programming. I don't know where they are. Dude, do you know where they are? Please send them my way. so that we can capture them and study them and replicate them, because they're unicorns at this point. They honestly are. So, and I get it. Overseas, there might be some better areas where it's more traditional, it's less gynocentric, and that might be the case. It might be safer to get married in other countries, depending on what their laws are. With family court. But and then some states in the U.S. are a bit better. I think Kentucky is one of them where it's default 50-50. But the world is so tricky now. It's so simple. We just want to be able to fulfill our biological imperative and also fulfill our desire to provide and protect, and have a woman that respects us, allows us to be a masculine leader, and will sire our children. Will make babies with us. That's all we want. But now it's just so dangerous for men to do that. So yeah, the outlook, it does look bleak. All right. And then that's the thing, is I'm not an incel. I think, pretty sure Black Pill is specifically connected to the incel movement, or incels. And I'm not an incel. I'm not involuntarily celibate. So I'm an attractive dude. I choose to be single. But yeah, unlike a lot of men, sex is not it's not out of reach for me. So, and I don't understand what it's like to be a man that can't get the attention of women. That's just not my experience. I mean, I'm not a Chad. They're like those bro dudes. They get hotter women than I do, and I get like the mid tier stuff. And if I was, when I was younger, I got maybe like an 8 or a 9, and I was flabbergasted on how I pulled it off, but I was able to. I mean, I definitely had my fun in my 20s and had my fair share of really attractive women. But yeah, I'm sorry, like I just can't understand the incel life, honestly, because I'm not one. So, but I do understand that a lot of my, I don't know, I guess maybe I have some gentlemen that are in my community that are a part of that community or consider themselves a part of it. And I don't specifically make content for those men. A lot of them do resonate with the things that I say, but when it comes to women, there's a huge disconnect there. I'm not there. I'm not a part of that. I don't have that mentality. I don't have that lived experience. So, but I appreciate you for supporting my channel, liking my content, but I'm just being 100 with you. I'm just keeping it real. I do not understand that. So, I empathize, I sympathize, but I don't understand. I can try to put myself in your shoes, but without having that experience, I just don't really have it. So, yeah, I'll just leave it there, but I appreciate all of you guys, and yeah, have a good weekend.